Fresh tensions in the South China Sea. The Philippines and China trade accusations of intentionally ramming vessels. Also tonight, children in Gaza given polio vaccines as a humanitarian pause in fighting comes into effect. Severe weather batters Australia's southeast, with flooding forcing some of Tasmania's residents to evacuate. And the rising number of Ukraine's war amputees, one woman's goal to raise awareness. I'm Janice Peterson. This is SBS World News. Good evening. Australia has joined Western nations in condemning China after a violent collision between a Chinese vessel and the Philippines Coast Guard in the South China Sea. It's the fifth altercation in as many weeks as a new flashpoint emerges in the disputed waters. China and the Philippines have blamed each other for the ramming incident, which took place off Sabina Shoal, around 75 nautical miles from the Philippines coast and 630 nautical miles from China.
Far from a shot across the bows, as a Chinese Coast Guard ship collides with a 97-metre Philippines vessel.
China Coast Guard vessel 5205 carried out a dangerous maneuver, resulting to its direct ramming.
11 minutes later, the same ship is on its stern. This the view from the Chinese side as it rams the rear. Minutes later, the hulls clash for a third time. No injuries reported in yesterday's standoff at the disputed Sabina Shoal. The Philippines Coast Guard says one of its largest vessels sustained widespread damage.
This ramming happened despite of our unprovoked action and presence.
So we exercise sovereignty, sovereign rights and jurisdiction over the area.
China disagrees, state media claiming the Philippines vessel was illegally stranded and caused the collision.
The entire responsibility lies with the Philippine side. We once again warn the Philippines, give up your fantasy and retreat immediately. That is the only correct way.
This morning, the United States condemned China's actions as dangerous and escalatory. Its ambassador in Manila stating, "We stand with the Philippines in upholding international law."
There shouldn't be dangerous activity because it comes at great risk.
In July, China and the Philippines appeared to be seeking de-escalation, signing a deal to end confrontations at the long-disputed Second Thomas Shoal. But since then, there have been 5 incidents at Sabina Shoal, including this midnight collision on August 19.
Not surprising. I mean, when both sides are trying to increase their operations,
There will be no reason for us to withdraw our Coast Guard vessels there.
Its damaged ship remains in the disputed waters for now. Naveen Razik, SBS World News.
At home, the Prime Minister has played down China's role in a key change to the final leader's statement issued after the Pacific Islands Forum, stripping any mention of Taiwan. On Friday, leaders reaffirmed Taiwan's status as a development partner of the group, but hours later, that statement was taken down as China demanded a correction. The communique has since been re-uploaded with no mention of Taiwan. The Prime Minister says the document reflects what was agreed to by all forum members.
With regard to the communique that was distributed effectively reflected the decisions that were actually made at the Pacific Island Leaders meeting.
Taiwan has been represented at the event since 1992. The polio vaccination campaign in Gaza has begun. The initiative by Gaza's Health Ministry, in association with several UN agencies, aims to vaccinate 640,000 children in the Gaza Strip. It comes as the Israeli military said it had recovered the bodies of 6 hostages from a tunnel in Gaza. Israel and Hamas have agreed to daily 8-hour-long pauses in fighting to help health workers administer the vaccine.
The first of the type 2 polio virus vaccine administered to the most vulnerable of the population. Enemies both visible and imperceptible, war and disease have gone hand in hand in every human confrontation.
كان عندي خوف وتوتر لأنه هذا إشي بخوف طبعا شلل الأطفال ويعني حرام الإشي هذا يعني لا بتحرك وهذا اللي الأطفال بيعمل بتحركوش ولا بياكلوا ولا بيشربوا يعني بضل طول العمر فيهم صح ولا لا فإشي بخوف هذا.
The United Nations says at least 90% of all children in Gaza need to be vaccinated twice within 4 weeks for the campaign to succeed. A massive operation the doctors say will require more than just a pause in the fighting.
والكل يعلم أن هذا الفيروس لا يقف عند حدود ويمكن أن يصل إلى كل مكان. يجب أن يكون هناك وقف إطلاق نار حتى تستطيع الطواقم الوصول إلى كل من هو مستهدف في هذه الحملة.
An unlikely possibility as Israeli troops continue their operations in parts of southern Gaza and the West Bank. The IDF saying it had located the bodies of 6 Israeli hostages in the southern city of Rafah.
הבוקר, בלב שבור, אנחנו עם משפחותיהם של אורי דנינו, אלכס לובנוב, אלמוג סרוסי, הירש גולדברג פולין, כרמל גת ועדן ירושלמי, זיכרונם לברכה.
The US president saying he was devastated and outraged at the news and calling for an end to the war.
It's time this war ended. We should end this war. I think we're on the verge of having an agreement. It's just time to end it. Time to finish it.
Ending the war and bringing the hostages home on the top of their agenda for these protesters, taking aim at the man they hold responsible for the continuing impasse.
For the hostages to return home, Netanyahu must leave now. Members of the coalition, step up and take action, or be recorded in history as the full accomplices in the execution of the hostages.
As Israeli authorities identified the hostages, protest groups announced they would bring the country to a halt, mounting one of the biggest demonstrations against the government of Prime Minister Netanyahu. The clock relentlessly ticking as families on both sides grapple with news shifting and unpredictable. Edmund Roy, SBS World News.
And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has just released a statement to say he and his government are committed to achieving a deal to release the remaining hostages. He says anyone who murders hostages does not want a deal. The IDF says it believes the hostages were murdered possibly only a day or two before they were found. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is increasing pressure on the United States to let it strike deeper into Russian territory with Allied-supplied weapons. Overnight, Kyiv launched drone attacks on Moscow and several other targets, according to Russian authorities. Ukraine's incursion into Russia's Kursk region is now in its 4th week and threatens to be outweighed by Russian attacks in Ukraine's east, with its forces now just a few kilometres from Pokrovsk, a vital logistics hub.
This is Russian Defense Ministry footage of what it claims to be its destruction of a Ukrainian weapons warehouse and an airborne forces unit in Ukraine's Sumy region. While here, a Ukrainian MiG-29 fighter jet destroying a Russian drone with a mid-air missile. The video has no location. What's undeniable is Ukraine's growing clamour for unfettered operational freedom.
I appeal to the United States, the United Kingdom, France and Germany. We need both the permissions for long-range capabilities and your long-range shells and missiles.
The Pentagon meeting between US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustem Umerov on Friday is yet to produce a change.
We have explained what kind of capabilities we need to protect the citizens against that Russian terror that Russians are causing us. So I hope we were heard.
The US is not currently expected to lift restrictions on Ukraine using long-range weapons to strike deeper into Russia, despite Kyiv's call.
The idea is that the Ukrainians will be able to employ them against airfields housing these bombers that are launching these glide bombs from 60, 70 kilometers away to devastating effect, including the strike that they had on Kharkiv.
18-year-old artist Veronika Kozhutsko was one of 6 people killed in Russia's weekend attack on Kharkiv. While in Bucha, location of Russian atrocities in the first month of its invasion, young women are increasingly joining volunteer mobile units responsible for shooting down Russian drones.
This means I can make at least some small contribution to the fact that my mother sleeps peacefully and my brothers and sisters go to school peacefully.
At least 70 women have been recruited into the Butcher Defence Forces in recent months, according to the region's Territorial Defence Commander, determined to protect their community, even as Russia claims further gains towards the vital city of Pokrovsk in the east. Prulawan, SBS World News.
More parts of Japan are on alert for possible landslides and flooding in the wake of ex-tropical cyclone Shanshan. The weather system, which is currently off the coast of Mie Prefecture, has weakened to a tropical depression but continues to dump heavy rain as it slowly moves northwest. 6 people have been killed and over 120 injured since it made landfall on Thursday. Heavy rain is set to drench eastern and northern Japan over the coming days. Another day of severe weather has pounded Australia's southeast, with parts of Tasmania now under flood warnings. A series of cold fronts have brought damaging and destructive winds to both Victoria and Tasmania. Tasmanian authorities are warning that the worst is yet to come. An emergency flood warning has been issued for the Derwent River, with people advised that lives could be at risk from floodwaters. In other developments, tonight thousands of homes are without power in Victoria and Tasmania. Authorities have set up an evacuation centre near Hobart, while parts of Victoria remain on alert for damaging winds exceeding 100 kilometres an hour.
A rapidly flowing Derwent River, its banks already burst, forcing residents to evacuate, the waterway expected to peak tonight at the major flood level. People at a nearby caravan park, some of the first to leave.
It's traumatic. Where did I put this? Where did I put that? Where's my tablets? Where is my toothbrush?
More than 200 millimetres of rain has fallen across Tasmania in the past week, triggering at least 20 flood alerts.
So grounds are saturated, many dams are full and spilling, and streams have got high elevated streams and high stream flows.
Multiple cold fronts, one after another, responsible for what the Bureau of Meteorology says is unprecedented weather, bringing heavy rain and destructive winds exceeding 100 kilometres an hour to Tasmania. Some gusts equivalent to a Category 3 tropical cyclone.
Tasmanians are used to strong winds at this time of year, but these have been particularly rare.
While more destructive winds are expected to lash parts of the west and north coasts overnight, Hobart and some areas in the south should escape the worst. Across the Bass Strait, and severe weather has already hit Victoria. More than 600 homes have already been damaged and power lost to more than 30,000 residences. The extreme cold front wreaking havoc on Tasmania, tonight barrelling towards South Victoria.
There is the risk of locally destructive winds, so that's in excess of 125 kilometres per hour about the west and central coast of Victoria, and that includes the Bellarine Peninsula and also the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne, and also another area about the northeastern ranges of Victoria.
Winds creating dangerous surf and high tides tonight and early tomorrow morning.
It is likely that the destructive and damaging winds are going to result in a lot more trees down, more houses without power, building damage.
Reprieve for Victorians likely coming tomorrow afternoon. Phoebe Dees, SBS World News.
Well, let's go now to New Norfolk, northwest of Hobart, where our Tasmania correspondent Karen Thomas has the latest. Good evening, Karen. What's the situation like for locals where you are?
Well, Janice, just in the last hour or so, people upstream of here on the Derwent and Styx rivers have been issued an evacuation order with a significant risk of flooding in the next 12 hours or so. 2 evacuation centres have been set up here in New Norfolk, one at the Sport and Rec Centre behind me, and people are expected to start arriving here in big numbers in the coming hours. Now, the flood level is expected to start peaking around now as well. That's at the same time as the high tide hits here, and authorities are warning with another cold front hitting the state this evening that there is more rain on the way, hitting catchments that are already saturated. The river here has already burst its banks and has inundated a park alongside the river, and authorities were out early this afternoon door knocking homes nearby.
rain on and off. We've had those strong winds. We've got, of course, water coming down from the dams, and that's having an impact on properties that are low-lying. A lot of rural properties have already gone under, so just agricultural land. But the big thing next will be the clean-up.
Now, some initial funds are already being made available for people who have had to evacuate their homes. There's $250 for individuals, $125 for children, a maximum of $1,000 for families. And that's just for those initial things, buying some personal supplies, accommodation if needed, and transport. And the Premier, Jeremy Rockliff, has said that more assistance will be available if needed.
Thanks so much. That's our Tasmania correspondent Karen Thomas updating us from New Norfolk. Coming up, voters go to the polls in a key German election that could rock the country's political system. Also, the launch of Muslim Votes Matter. What role will it play in the next federal election? Plus, Norway's royal wedding and why it's divided a nation.
Your humble hatchback, Pierre, had a horn with a pop-pop sound. Pierre looked like a roller skate, drove like a dream. When you farewelled your old life, Pierre was there. A car doesn't have to move fast to move you. If it's precious to you, protect it with us. GIO, protect precious.
Tonight's game's going to be an absolute classic.
Sport? It's just not like it used to be.
Yep, sport's going soft.
Elite athletes in today's sport have greater endurance and aerobic capacity.
Today's in 4K.
Can today's sport do this?
I think they can.
Yeah.
Now is the best time in sport with the best app in sport, Tab. We're on.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Voters in Germany's east are heading to the polls tonight in state elections where the far right is expected to perform strongly. New assemblies will be elected in the states of Saxony and Thuringia. Polling suggests the Alternative for Germany's party is on track to win the most votes. A large crowd of anti-far-right protesters took to the streets on the eve of the election to rally against the party, which opposes immigration and is critical of the European Union. Meanwhile, Chancellor Olaf Scholz's Social Democratic Party and its coalition partners have been struggling in recent polls.
Their slogan is, "It is time." Time for the AfD, an anti-immigrant far-right party that no other party will work with, whose leader in Thuringia has recently been convicted of knowingly using Nazi slogans in his campaigns. For Björn Höcke, what seems to matter most is not what the courts say, but what the people say.
Let's make Thuringia a family-friendly state, the most child-friendly one. We don't accept that we Thuringians and Germans are simply dying out. We don't want to fill job gaps with migrants. We want to produce the skilled workers of the future ourselves.
Never mind that some of his party's policies seem contradictory, urging voters to fight for freedom here, but Ukrainians not to fight for freedom there. Because ending that war is popular in the old East Germany. It's a key plank of Sarah Wagenknecht's offer to the people. Her new far-left party is attacking the AfD while proposing some policies similar to theirs. The Social Democrats, Free Democrats and Greens are fighting just to get any seats in these elections, while the Christian Democrats are struggling to retain first place in Saxony against the AfD.
We won't let anyone tell us how we should live, how we should talk, what kind of car we should drive, or what we should eat, neither from the left nor from the right. We are Saxons. We go our own way. We do our own thing.
For a prominent Christian Democrat to use such language demonstrates how powerful the extreme parties have become.
And this comes, I think, from this
immense transformation experience of many East Germans after reunification, being kind of the losers in a new system, feeling marginalized and insignificant, and this collective feeling amongst growing parts of the population remains.
Following the recent stabbings in Solingen, which a Syrian failed asylum seeker has confessed to carrying out, both the far left and the far right say immigration is not working. The federal government has now toughened the immigration rules and started deporting Afghan offenders back to their home country. The people being elected on Sunday will take their seats here, and for the first time the AfD has a realistic chance of being the largest party and supplanting the ruling Christian Democrats, a result that would reverberate around this country.
Dominic Kane reporting there from Dresden. Political group Muslim Votes Matter has officially launched its campaign in Melbourne tonight in the hopes of targeting a number of federal seats in the next election. The grassroots group formed earlier this year with a commitment to promoting political engagement and also amplifying the voices of Australian Muslims.
A number of speakers have gathered here in Broadmeadows tonight in Melbourne's north for the official launch of Muslim Votes Matter. The group expressed their support for former Labor Senator Fatima Payman, who quit the party after she crossed the floor to vote with the Greens on a motion to officially recognise a Palestinian state. Now, while the group says they're not affiliated with any political party or will run candidates themselves, they say they'll support those whose values align with theirs.
The Gaza issue is a short-term goal, but we aim at a sustainable objective to mobilize our Muslim community so that they can harness their power and be politically engaged. We educate them to be politically savvy.
There are a number of speakers here this evening discussing a range of issues from Gaza to political empowerment and the impacts of a hung parliament, as well as Islamophobia. The group will be targeting at least 20 Labor seats across the country. It says those seats with large Muslim populations could have the deciding vote in the next federal election. But unsurprisingly, the war in Gaza has dominated tonight's discussions. Dr. Bushra Othman became emotional as she described the situation in Gaza, where she worked for 3 weeks earlier this year. She says being involved with this group is about better educating voters from the Muslim community.
And I think if a lot more people are involved and aware of, who their constituents are, what roles we have as community members, and how to be able to reach government and raise issues that are important to us, such as what's happening in Gaza at the moment. I think if enough people hopefully speak out, then yes, we can bring about change.
The feeling among many of those here tonight is that Muslim voices have not been heard, and they want that to change. They've thrown their support behind an independent candidate in Tony Burke's Western Sydney seat of Watson, traditionally a safe Labor seat. But anger over the government's handling of the war in Gaza could see many of these people reconsider who they vote for at the next election.
Gloria Kalesh reporting there. Asthma, acne and anxiety medications are among 100 new drugs now available as 60-day scripts as the latest tranche of Labor's cheaper medicines comes online. Health Minister Mark Butler says the changes have already saved Australians $500 million this year, dismissing concerns that cheaper scripts could cause medication shortages.
The patients who are eligible for 60-day scripts, as I've said before, are on these medicines on an ongoing basis. So at the end of the day, over a course of a 12-month period, they'll be consuming exactly the same amount of that medicine.
Nearly 300 common medicines have now been available as 60-day scripts, effectively halving their cost. The Prime Minister has labelled the death of a 17-year-old Aboriginal boy in custody in Western Australia a terrible tragedy. The boy's death is the second in a WA youth detention centre in less than a year. The Australian Human Rights Commission has called for a national task force to look into youth justice reform. Mr Albanese says that will be considered by National Cabinet this week. Female doctors in India say they don't feel safe in their own workplace as they protested, demanding justice for a trainee doctor who was raped and killed in a Kolkata hospital. The shocking incident last month has sparked weeks of mass demonstrations and growing calls for government action on sexual violence.
Lahari Sarkar is a junior doctor at the same hospital in Kolkata where another medic was raped and murdered 3 weeks ago. She says she and many of her female colleagues have endured years of sexual harassment by men.
I work at surgery, so I used to work at trauma. There has been instances where drunk patient parties have come and they have made passes at women, doctors, female doctors, nurses, including me, including myself. They have made passes, they have made offensive comments.
The attack on August the 9th triggered widespread strikes by junior doctors across India, demanding justice and better safety provisions at work. The case has also amplified and elevated the problem of sexual violence against women in India. Rebecca Mammon John has represented many rape victims. She says some rapists still believe they can get away with their crimes.
These are systemic issues. Policing is very poor. You don't know how to guard scenes of crime. You don't know how to collect evidence. You find it very difficult to trace who the offender is. Sometimes you may have reasons for that, but policing by and large in our country is extremely poor.
Pranadika Sinha Dev Burman is a survivor of sexual abuse. She now supports other women to raise awareness about abuse online, which she says has increased significantly in recent years.
It's very difficult for the survivors to speak out because in most cases they are re-victimized by the system, by the authority, in many cases also by their own families, because there's so much ignorance around the issue, but there's also a lot of enabling around the issue, which we don't talk about. We don't talk about the fact that sometimes when someone is being assaulted or someone is being harassed on the internet, it is assault.
The gang rape and murder of a young woman on a bus in New Delhi more than 10 years ago led to changes to the criminal justice system, including tougher sentences and the death penalty for repeat offenders. But campaigners say little has changed despite the tougher laws, and they'll continue to make their voices heard until the government adequately tackles the problem of sexual violence against women.
Victoria Gatenby with that report. Norway's Princess Martha Louise has tied the knot with an American businessman and self-proclaimed shaman in a union that has divided her home country. It follows 3 days of festivities attended by royal family members and celebrities in the scenic tourist town of Geiranger.
A royal union like no other. Norway's fourth in line to the throne, a divorcee, tied the knot with 49-year-old American shaman Durek Verrett.
I think she's the most amazing woman and the most gorgeous woman, and I'm so glad I made my vows to her.
It follows 3 days of lavish celebrations in the picturesque tourist town of Geiranger. The red carpet rolled out for TV stars, social media influencers and royal guests.
It's been so fun. It's been magical.
Princess Martha Louise is the daughter of King Harold V and Queen Sonja, and the older sister of Crown Prince Haakon, the heir to the Norwegian throne. The couple's alternative beliefs have attracted headlines since they announced their relationship in 2019. They claim to have met in a past life in ancient Egypt, and her new husband says he communicates with spirits.
Men jeg mener å få lov til å være med og feire I disse omgivelsene. All ære til Martha og Durek og kongefamilien.
Supporters also lined the streets to catch a glimpse of the newlyweds. Critical of Norwegian press coverage about their lives, they sold their wedding photo rights to a British celebrity magazine and the film rights to Netflix. The couple has previously faced backlash for linking their business activities to the princess's royal status. But none of that appeared to be on the mind of the happy bride.
It was amazing, the whole thing.
She stopped officially undertaking royal duties in 2022, but she still retains her title as Princess of Norway. Brianna Piazza, SBS World News.
Tens of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians have lost their limbs since Russia launched its invasion 2 years ago. Tonight, we meet one of them. Ruslana Daniilkina has come to Sydney to assist Australia's Ukrainian community. She's working to raise funds for a centre that's helping those gravely wounded from the war. This story was produced in collaboration with SBS Ukrainian.
These were the sounds Ruslana Daniilkina constantly heard on the front line. She was 18 when she volunteered to defend her country, a month after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, serving with the Territorial Defence Force of Ukraine as a radio operator. In this war, everything comes at a cost. Early last year, she was in Kherson when her car came under fire.
Нас було троє в машині, і всі троє ми зазнали поранень. В мене було найважче поранення, ногу одразу відірвало, і я розуміла, що моє життя кардинально зміниться. Допомагала себе рятувати.
In a state of panic, she recorded this video and sent it to her brother.
Коли влучило в нашу автівку, я не роздумуючи це зробила, тому що я розуміла, що моє життя стоїть на грані обриву.
This is now Ruslana's new normal, harnessing one of the lowest points in her life to inspire others on social media. Medical organisations in Ukraine estimate somewhere between 20 and 50,000 people have lost one or more limbs since the war began in 2022, but official data is not available. Ruslana came to Sydney to spread awareness about rehab clinic Superhuman Centre, based in Lviv, that's helped thousands like her get back on their feet with prosthetics.
Проводжу його постійно 24/7 для того, щоб можна було змінити життя на краще інших людей, які втратили свої частини, свої кінцівки заради нас, які ми можемо здійснювати свою роботу в Україні.
Helping raise funds for Superhuman Centre is an Australian charity group run by Ukrainian diaspora, which is aimed at helping the rebuilding of Ukraine.
When you bring someone that's come straight from the battlefield, when you bring someone that has gone through a rehabilitation process like Ruslana has, and to be able to speak to her, to hear her story, and to understand what Ukrainians at large are going through, that's incredibly powerful and moving.
One Australian philanthropy group has donated more than $100,000 to the charity Future Ukraine, a contribution that's heartened the community.
I hope we can found a new bridge between two continents, between two countries, and I hope we can change the world together.
Приїжджаючи сюди, бачивши це все безтурботне життя, яке проживають інші країни, дуже сильно хочеться, щоб в якийсь день і в нашій країні настало мирне небо та спокій.
Taking every step she can to help with just that. Rayanne Tamer, SBS World News.
Touted as a once-in-a-decade opportunity, Australia is conducting a 10-year review into the preservation of some of our least known but most pristine islands. Pristine islands, that is, under a federal government proposal. The protected waters around Heard and McDonald, a remote group of sub-Antarctic islands 4,000 kilometres southwest of Western Australia, are set to quadruple in size. The move has been welcomed by marine scientists, but they say under the current plan, the areas of highest ecological value will not be adequately protected.
They're among the most remote places on Earth, virtually untouched by humans. World Heritage listed Heard and McDonald Islands are home to glaciers, wetlands, active volcanoes, and an abundance of marine life.
Think Galapagos in the Southern Ocean. They are really teeming with the most incredible life: penguins, seals, whales, albatross, bird life. And, you know, there couldn't be a more worthy place for protection.
Preservation of Heard and McDonald and the swathe of ocean that surrounds them, a responsibility that lies with Australia, which took possession of the islands from the UK in 1947. Climate change and commercial fishing, the biggest threats according to marine scientists. A 10-year review of how the islands are managed is due this year, and they say the stakes are high.
10-yearly reviews and the opportunity for the public to have comment on them is our only opportunity to influence marine conservation in the Commonwealth areas.
Currently, 17% of the waters around the islands are a designated sanctuary zone. Last month, the federal government unveiled a plan to expand the marine reserve by over 300,000 square kilometres, so that almost 90% of Australia's exclusive economic zone will have some sort of protection. The reserve is divided into 3 categories. The sanctuary and national park zones, which account for about 50%, offer the most stringent levels of protection. But environmental scientists say the areas of highest ecological value do not sit within these boundaries.
It's good that we have this extra protection in terms of the scale of that protection. We just need to see more of those really important areas like the canyons and the seamounts, which are these incredibly important habitats for foraging sea life included within that 50.
In a statement to SBS News, a spokesperson for the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water said the proposed expansion was informed by the best available science, adding the minister will review any new science and information that becomes available through the current public consultation process before making a decision. An independent scientific report published in February recommended protection for 6 key conservation features, 5 of which the authors say do not sit within the areas offering total protection.
Small changes to the boundaries will make a major difference to the long-term viability of biodiversity in the area.
Insisting if we get it right, Australia could be a global leader in the conservation of the fragile Antarctic region. Abby O'Brien, SBS World News.
Rapper Fat Man Scoop has died after collapsing on stage in the US state of Connecticut. The 53-year-old was halfway through a performance when he fell. He was then rushed to hospital. The 3-time Grammy Award winner was an influential figure in New York's hip-hop scene in the 1990s. In a tribute on social media, Scoop's family described him as a radiant soul, a beacon of light on the stage and in life. Coming up, a celebration for teenage girls, why it comes with a prison visit. And Aussie Alex de Minaur takes down a Korean nemesis at the US Open.
Not only have we won 1 customer satisfaction award, but we've won 2. Couldn't be more proud.
The harder I work to give you better service, the more satisfied you are. The more satisfied you are, the more awards we win. More awards, more cake. It's a satisfaction cycle.
Dig in, everyone.
Customer satisfaction is what U-shaped insurance is all about. You insured.
Bing bang bing, bing bang bing, bum bum.
Hey mate. Hey traveller. Sort of doing 100. We'll see you when you get here, mate. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh good. Did it go back? 60-ish.
It's around about 85.
Casual speeding is the biggest cause of deaths and serious injuries on New South Wales roads. Let's all stop being so casual about it. Crisp.
Light and refresh.
Oh.
So exciting.
What?
Be refreshed.
You have no idea what you've started.
I warned you. Everything's changed.
For Mexican girls, their 15th birthday is a major milestone as they celebrate their transition to adulthood with their family. In the bustling heart of Mexico City, a unique celebration took place. Sparkly ball gowns converged on an unlikely place for a mass quinceañera, a women's prison, allowing incarcerated mothers to reunite with their daughters.
The makeup and the dresses are familiar to anyone who knows Mexican culture. The quinceañeros, a big party where families present their girls to the world at their 15th birthday. But this one's different. These girls are heading not to a dance hall, but to Mexico City's women's prison in Santa Marta, Acatitla, to celebrate with their jailed mothers. It's an event that NGO Alas de Amor organises with prison authorities. The entrance is triumphant, and then the reunions and the tears.
Being here with them is a gift, a blessing for the family. My daughter looked beautiful. I couldn't control myself. I started crying. It's my boy and girl here, and to celebrate both of them together, it's just wow.
Daniela, Estrella's daughter, said she hadn't seen her mum for 2 years.
I feel very emotional. I don't know, the tears keep coming. It's like a dream that I wanted. I wanted my mom with me, and I like the way she looks, so happy. Her face looks content.
On both sides, the parents and teenagers here have worked hard to take part. The mums take on extra work in prison and have to show good behaviour. The daughters and sons need to get good grades. Both parties have to send a letter saying why this is important to them. If they're successful, they can bring 6 family members with them. The 15 años celebration in Mexico is not just important for the birthday girl, but for the whole family to get together and reconnect. And that's what this event is trying to offer, just for a few hours in a really difficult situation. It's not all pink clouds and happiness. There are strong emotions to work through too, recriminations at times. But at least these parents and adolescents are getting a brief chance to do it together.
John Holman reporting from Mexico City. Well, it's time now for Sunday night sport with Brianna Holden. And Bri, another golden double for the Aussies at the Paralympics.
Yeah, Janice, a huge night for Australia, with First Nations track cyclist Amanda Reid defending her title in the C1-3 500-metre time trial. Also clinching gold was Australia's para-table tennis duo of Leili Na and Yang Xian, while there was heartbreak for runner Jared Clifford.
He's in the green, and it's gone a little bit further. It's still very close, though.
Amanda Reid, queen of the C1-3 500-metre time trial, continuing her dominance in the velodrome.
And the gap has extended, though. Amanda Reid will go back-to-back.
But with several events left in her game's calendar, she's already looking forward to the next shot at gold.
Absolutely amazing, the vibe is, and just keep going. Hopefully we can carry it on to tomorrow and then the road as well.
In para-table tennis, Yang Xian and Leili Na added to their 3 medals apiece in green and gold, taking a 4-set win over Chinese Taipei.
And that's it, it's all over. Australia got there over the line.
In the ball, Jack Ireland blitzed towards the finish line of the men's S14 200-metre freestyle.
And he'll get the world record here. Look at Ireland finishing late. He's got the medal.
He picked up Australia's 4th bronze of the Games. That's after flag bearer Madison De Rosario claimed a maiden medal in the women's T54 5,000-metre event.
De Rosario fighting on, and she's going to get the medal here. She gets the bronze.
Yes! It's been so elusive. I was 4th the first time I raced it, down to a 5th in Tokyo where I ran one of the worst races of my career, and that was, I think it was nice to finally be able to make it onto the podium. It's one of my favourite events.
Elsewhere on the track,
Roga can't quite hang on. Can he hang on for a medal? The Frenchman charging home. Haranchuk's going to defend the title. Roga staggering gets second.
Michael Roga pipped at the finish line for a nail-biting silver in the men's T46 1500 metre. While there was heartbreak for our men's 5,000-metre runner Jared Clifford.
And Clifford hangs on just.
The 25-year-old thought he'd claimed bronze, only to find out he was disqualified for dropping his guide tether just before crossing the line. So taking a look at the medal tally at the start of day 4, China sits on top with 20 gold medals ahead of Great Britain, Brazil and the Netherlands. Australia is 6th, just behind the United States. Alex de Minaur has set up an all-Australian clash with Jordan Thompson in the round of 16 at the US Open. In the women's draw at Flushing Meadows, world number 1 Iga Swiatek progressed in straight sets. So too did leading contenders Jessica Pegula and Jasmine Paolini. Men's top seed Yannick Sinner was too good for Australian Chris O'Connell, while Thompson and de Minaur joined Lexi Poprin in progressing to the 4th round.
In 3 previous meetings, Dan Evans had Alex de Minaur's measure.
The Brit wanted to make it 4 in a row against the Australian, but de Minaur's desire to turn the tide helped him take the first set.
Such a high level these two have produced in set number 1.
De Minaur pulling out his favourite shots to send the second set into a tiebreak. Evans managed to square the match, but that was as good as it got for him. The Demon's incredible touch setting the platform. The 10th seed pushed his opponent around the court, and after losing the opening 2 games of the third set, Evans needed injury assistance. De Minaur won 12 straight games to reach the finishing line as the rigours of playing the longest ever match in tournament history caught up with Evans.
And Alex de Minaur was there
6-3, 6-7,
to take advantage.
And obviously he's gotten the better of me on many occasions, so you know, I'm happy I was able to get one on the board.
De Minaur is the first Australian man since Leighton Hewitt 20 years ago to reach the 4th round of all 4 Grand Slams in the same year. He next faces compatriot Jordan Thompson, who downed world number 30 Matteo Arnaldi of Italy in straight sets. In career best form, the 30-year-old's win guarantees Australia a presence in the last 8.
I feel like I'm getting better as I get older. Hopefully my body holds up, but yeah, it's definitely the best that I've been playing in my career, and you know, results and ranking have shown that.
Christopher O'Connell couldn't make it a quartet of Aussies in the round of 16, losing to world number 1 Yannick Sinner. In the women's draw, top seed Iga Swiatek was too strong for Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova, racing into the 4th round in straight sets. Swiatek is on track to meet American Jessica Pegula in the quarterfinals, after the 6th seed made light work of Spain's Jessica Buzes-Monero. John Baldock, SBS World News.
There's been an early stumble in the English Premier League title race as Manchester City capitalised on an Arsenal slip-up. The Gunners dropped points for the first time this season, held by Brighton. City were too strong for West Ham, while Brentford, Bournemouth and Aston Villa also secured victories.
Other Premier League team.
It's unbelievable, and say, the second goal and even the first, in front of the goal is something unique.
City and Liverpool are the only sides with a perfect record after Arsenal played out a controversial draw with Brighton. The Gunners were 1-0 up when Declan Rice was shown a second yellow card for kicking the ball away.
I was amazed because in the first half when the opponents did that, he didn't get any booking.
The Seagulls took full advantage of Rice's dismissal.
And it's João Pedro, and Brighton have their leveller.
João Pedro ensuring the points were shared. Everton was on track for its first win of the season. No side had ever lost when leading 2-0 in the 87th minute of the 35-match unbeaten streak of defending Bundesliga champions Bayer Leverkusen.
And takes it! Oh, it's brilliant!
And Barcelona continue to set the pace in La Liga. Barca making it 4 wins from as many.
Australian cyclist Caden Groves has claimed his second stage victory of the Vuelta a España. Compatriot Ben O'Connor maintained his 1 minute and 21 second lead over Primož Roglic, with the Slovenian overcoming a late mechanical issue. Groves held off Wout van Aert in a bunch sprint finish to take out the longest stage of this year's race.
Yeah, it's obviously really nice. I love racing here, and my third Vuelta and now my 6th win. It's good to see the consistency and the hard work paying off.
Riders face a brutal summit finish on stage 15, and our live coverage begins on SBS Viceland from 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt hopes a thrilling win over Argentina will serve as a springboard for his side. Australia fought back from a 10-0 down in La Plata to record their first win of the Rugby Championship. A last-minute Ben Donaldson penalty goal secured a 1-point triumph over Los Pumas. South Africa, meanwhile, overcame a similar deficit against New Zealand at Ellis Park. In a rematch of last year's World Cup final, the Springboks scored 14 unanswered points to win 31-27. The Knights have set up a winner-takes-all clash with the Dolphins next Sunday for the final spot in the NRL's top 8. Newcastle powered past the Titans with Fletcher Sharp scoring a hat-trick. If that match ends in a draw, it would allow Canberra to sneak into the finals with a last-round win over the Dragons. That's after the Raiders stunned the Roosters to keep their season alive. And North Melbourne has sent a huge statement in the AFLW, thrashing Brisbane in a repeat of last season's grand final. The Kangaroos defeated the Lions for the first time, winning by 44 points, while earlier Hawthorn produced its highest ever score. The Hawks piled on 66 points as they cruised past Carlton to begin the new campaign in style. And that's the day in sport. Janice, a cracking first round of the AFLW.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Bree. Well, coming up, the weather details and the highs and lows of one of the Netherlands' traditional sports.
Be ready to lend a mate your keys. With Allianz Comprehensive Car Insurance, they're covered, the same as you. Get your quote today. Allianz.
Ladbrokes team, football! Lads! Bossy! Mood! Pumper! Holly! Chat, share bets, and get unrivaled access to racing experts so you can own spring. Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
On now at Harvey Norman, get up to 20% off Acer and Lenovo computers. That's right, up to a huge 20% off. Like this Acer Aspire Intel Core i5 laptop. Hot price, save $220. This powerful Lenovo IdeaPad Flex 5i convertible laptop with touchscreen, save $500. Or the Acer Swift Go with the new Intel Evo Ultra 7 processor and vibrant OLED screen. Sensational deals, save $500. Hurry, up to 20% off Acer and Lenovo computers. Limited time only. Now at Harvey Norman.
Go!
What we have to discuss has serious implications.
The truth is still the truth, even if no one believes it.
Nothing could be further from the truth. If it's going to come out, it's going to come out the right way. What if it doesn't?
We will not allow this to be covered up.
Based on a true story collection on SBS On Demand.
To the weather forecast now, a mid to upper convective cloud over Tasmania in the wake of a cold front. Cold and moist onshore flow is bringing low-level convective cloud to Victoria and South Australia. To the major centres now, the sun will be out in Darwin and the Alice. Cloudy skies for Cairns. The sun will be out in Brisbane, windy and sunny for Sydney. Cloudy skies in Canberra. Showers to ease in Melbourne and Hobart. A possible early shower for Adelaide, and the sun will shine in Perth. Checking conditions further afield now. Fine and bright in Apia. Showers ahead for Nundy. Cloudy in Tahiti and Wellington. The picture in Southeast Asia now. Thunderstorms for Bangkok. Some rain for Phnom Penh. Thunderstorms in Singapore. Cloudy skies in Jakarta. Let's head further north now. Clear and bright in Beijing. Some rain ahead for Seoul. Cloudy skies in Tokyo. Showers in Hong Kong. Heading west now, clear and bright in Beirut and Baghdad, rain in Islamabad and Mumbai. To Europe now, showers on the way for Stockholm. It'll be wet and rainy in London, clear skies in Paris, rain for Rome, thunder in Istanbul. Checking conditions in Africa now, clear in Algiers, Casablanca and Cairo, rain in Lagos, clear skies for Johannesburg. To South America now, unsettled and thundery in Caracas, drizzle in Panama City, showers in La Paz, cloudy in Buenos Aires. And for North America, fine and clear skies for Toronto, Chicago and New York, showers in Miami and Havana, and rain on the way for Mexico City. Well, finally tonight, contestants from all over the Netherlands have met in the village of Polsbroek to compete in the country's annual canal vaulting contest. 48 athletes were tasked with climbing as high as they could on a long pole before attempting to land right there as far as possible on the opposite side of the bank. Thousands gathered to watch the highs and lows of the extreme sport, including more than a couple of drenched contestants. The sport was born out of necessity in the rural fields and farmlands so that farmers could cross canals. Recapping our top story now, and China and the Philippines have traded blame for deliberately crashing into each other's Coast Guard vessels in the South China Sea. Australia has joined Western nations in condemning China over the incident. That's the fifth of its kind in as many weeks. That is the world this Sunday. If you missed any of tonight's bulletin, catch up on SBS On Demand. And from the team, I'm Janice Peterson. Have a great night.
Thank you.